Hey guys, it's Haley, and today I wanted to make just a really quick little video, just kind of talking about my anxiety and what I've done since I started getting anxiety attacks and just how I deal with things. Just general suggestions for people with anxiety, people with depression. I've had a lot of people, ask me since I found out that I had anxiety and since I started getting anxiety attacks, what I do to make myself feel better, to stop an anxiety attack or to keep it from getting worse. And so I just thought I'd make a video completely dedicated to just anxiety in general and how far I've come from when I first got my anxiety attacks and, now how I can pretty much control them and, just things that I think have helped me in the long run from making my anxiety worse. So to start out, I just kind of want to let y'all know when I started getting my anxiety. I want to say that it really started in high school. There were just random things that would make me very anxious, and I would just kind of be like, why am I feeling this anxious? And it would be like random stuff like driving a car or like getting a test back. You get nervous, and that's natural, but it's not nervous to have your heart beating out of your chest, especially when, it's not a big deal. And I found situations like that happening more and more. And so I really just wanted to kind of diagnose myself so I knew if there was something wrong with me or if I was just like a total freak, because I had really never heard about having anxiety before. And especially being in high school, you really aren't thrown out into the world at that point yet. You're kind of still in your little cushiony bubble of your friends and just the atmosphere, especially if you're like me and went to the same school, the same people since kindergarten, since preschool. You really aren't exposed to a whole lot of, problems in the world. For example, I grew up in a high school where everyone had a good amount of money and all the girls dressed the same and all the boys acted and talked the same, and everyone was just kind of like mimes of each other. I thought that was how life was. I thought everyone was like that. I didn't get a taste of the real world until I graduated college and moved away and made new friends and, found out about people that had different backgrounds and different problems. And I think that's kind of when I realized that having anxiety was something that was normal. At first, it kind of just crept up on me, just like, little feelings of anxiety, being anxious over like things that weren't important, and I would freak out about them. I started getting full on like panic attacks pretty recently. My first like real panic attack was a little over a year and a half ago. It was about 2 years ago. And it happened when I was with my boyfriend and I had just walked up the stairs. When you like walk up the stairs really fast, obviously your heart rate increases and your breathing increases, because you just exerted a bunch of energy. So for some reason, I was just really in my head that day, and I started thinking like, oh my gosh, like my heart's beating really fast. Like, does it usually beat this fast from going up the stairs? And it honestly just like escalated. Like it went from like 0 to 60 in like zero point 0.2 seconds. So as soon as I was like, whoa, like why is my heart beating so fast? It started freaking beating so fast. Like, I couldn't even count the beats per minute or whatever if I wanted to. Like it was outrageous. So I go from like just like being like, oh, my heart's beating fast to like, holy F, I'm having a freaking heart attack. And so immediately my whole body just goes in these hot, cold flashes, just like so fast. And I'm like just trying to like calm myself down and be like, okay, everything's okay. But I did not know what was wrong with me. So I'm sitting there with my boyfriend and he's like, are you okay? I was like, feel my heart. So he feels my heart and it's going a bajillion miles an hour. And he's like, oh my God, like what's wrong? So that makes it even worse. And then I'm like freaking out because I don't know what to do. I did not know what was happening. He didn't know what was happening. Legitimately, I started uncontrollably shaking, like like my whole body shaking like that. And then I was getting these flashes of being my whole body going completely numb, and then in this horrible like stabbing pains, like little knives like going all through me. Like it was the craziest experience. So my heart's beating a bajillion miles an hour. I don't know what's wrong with me, and then I start going in these flashes of numbness and pain. I can't even cry because I'm so wrapped up in what the freak is going on with my body. And David's like Googling it on his phone, and I'm like just uncontrollably shaking, just like praying that it goes away. And it gets worse. The more that I think about it and think about how fast my heart's beating and like what on earth could be wrong with me, it just keeps getting worse. And I get to the point where it's been like 2 hours and my heart keeps going faster, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. So my muscles start going into these muscle spasms, and my heart is all I can feel in my whole body. It's like my whole body is one giant heartbeat, and I am literally freaking out. I am like curled in a ball, uncontrollably shaking in this horrible pain. And then to top it off, David is telling me he does not know what's wrong with me, and I tell him that I think I'm having a heart attack. And it just keeps getting worse. And so it gets to the point where I'm in so much pain and my heart is pounding so fast and so hard. I'm like, I'm about to die. Like, this is it. It's funny now, but I was like praying to God and to Jesus and to all the higher beings that I was so sorry for all the sins that I had ever sinned and all the bad things I'd ever done. I was like, oh my God, Jesus, I'm so sorry for A, B, C, and D. I hope my parents know that I love them. Like, I was thinking that stuff in my head because I was so sure that I was dying. I was legitimately 100% sure that I was not going to wake up in the morning. I thought that was it for me. It lasted hours and hours, and the more I thought about it, the worse that it got. And I finally convinced David to give me like an Ambien or a sleeping pill, and I pass out, thank God. And I wake up completely fine, and I was just like, oh my God, what happened to me last night? It was so scary. I had never experienced anything like that. I had never heard of anyone else experience anything like that. And so me and David just kind of like start talking about it. I start Googling it because there was no way I could have Googled it while it was happening because I was shaking and just couldn't concentrate on anything but my heart beating. But I look it up, and this girl is describing the exact same things that happened to me, the exact same like feelings and emotions and the heart beating fast and the thinking you're gonna die and your body goes into numbness and pain and blah blah blah. Everything that I experienced, this girl was talking about how she had experienced. And then I get to the end of the paragraph and she says, it was the worst anxiety attack I'd ever had. And I'm just like, oh my God, that was an anxiety attack. Prior to that, when I was like 17, I had something nowhere near as bad as that, but what I thought was an anxiety attack where I was just like uncontrollably crying and like shaking, but there was no like pain, and there was a little bit of my heart racing, but nothing compared to that night. Like I said, up to that point, I thought that was an anxiety attack. So when I had the real anxiety attack, I didn't know that that's what it was. I just came to the realization that I have anxiety attacks because, once you have one, and if you're like me, they just kind of all of a sudden happen consecutively. Oh my gosh, it was so miserable, but I was really happy to have identified what the problem was and really, really happy to learn that you cannot die from an anxiety attack. And if there's one thing that I want you to walk away with knowing, it's that you cannot die from an anxiety attack. I feel like knowing that is so important. Once you realize you can't die, like if I had known for a fact during my bad anxiety attack that I wasn't going to die, I think that it would have gone away. But it was just me thinking that I was going to die that made it so much worse. So I found out that I wasn't going to die, and that was really wonderful and great and a big help. After that, it was just like something clicked, and I just kept getting them over and over and over and over again. And, it would start out and I would just be thinking of something that worried me, and the anxiety would just come on. My heart would start beating really fast. When you think about how fast your heart is beating, then it becomes all you can concentrate on, and it just starts getting worse and worse and worse. And so you really have to learn what sets off attacks so that you don't do it. And, there's so many ways to prevent yourself from having one or to prevent it from getting worse. So I'm just going to kind of share with y'all some things that have helped me. First of all, over any method of breathing or thought process or anything, what has helped me the most from getting anxiety attacks in general and from keeping them from getting worse is my kitten. I got a cat specifically because I thought that when I had anxiety attacks, it would be so comforting to just hold a little fuzzy friend and just have something near me with a heartbeat that, was just loving and would calm me down, and I could not have been more right. Ever since I got my cat, my anxiety attacks have been so much less often. I haven't had an anxiety attack in so long. And I contribute it mostly to getting my pet. And that doesn't mean, if you have anxiety, immediately go out and buy a pet. I've heard that stuffed animals work. It has that same calming effect of petting something that's soft and fluffy, and it just sends these brain waves through your mind and just tells you to relax, tells you it's gonna be okay. So I'm sure that's really helpful if you don't have a pet. And if you do, already have a pet, then when you are feeling anxious, just grab him and pet him and talk to him, and I promise they will help you calm down. I mean, it can even be a fish. It can be a turtle, a hamster. It doesn't have to be something that you have to necessarily pet, but just an animal that you can just talk to, just look at, just feed off each other's vibes and calm down. And I know that sounds really weird, but it truly, truly works. Or if you don't have a pet, like I said, a stuffed animal, just petting it, feeling its softness, just anything to take your mind off of how fast your heart is beating is exactly what needs to be done. Another one is when you feel the attack coming, don't be like, oh my god, I'm about to have an anxiety attack. Oh my god, what do I do? What do I do? Just say to yourself in your head, I'm about to have an anxiety attack. I'm not going to die from it. It's going to happen, and it's going to go away. And I think looking at it in that kind of perspective instantly makes it not that bad. Because when you welcome it and don't make it a giant deal and don't make it a scary, freaky, horrible thing, you're taking so much power away from it. You're putting the power in your own brain and your own thought processes. And that just makes the biggest difference when you can be like, you know what? I'm going to have an anxiety attack and I probably can't stop it, but I sure as hell can keep it from getting out of control. Because when your attacks are out of control, that is the worst. And that is when things just go haywire and horrible and so bad. So that's definitely a big one, is just to, welcome it and know that it's going to happen and that you probably can't just straight up stop it. So you just have to let it happen and don't give it power. Just think this will be over and I'm not going to die. Because I promise if you think those two things, it's going to make it so much less bad. So another trick that I learned is to breathe in a paper bag. And I know that's kind of like an old fashioned, like everyone knows about that trick, but like it really does work. You need to slow down your breathing because for a lot of people they will like go into like hyperventilation, and then that's really, really bad. So you just want to slow yourself down, and like the more you have like a paced just calmness of breathing, I feel like that really just puts your whole body into this whole kind of like zone where it's just more calm. Also, I think breathing in your own carbon dioxide um just calms you down, just like chemicals in your brain that just makes you more calm. So that's another little trick. Something else I learned is for me, whenever I would have an anxiety attack, I would just tell myself, go outside, go take a walk around the block, go run around the block. Stuff like that, especially having a place where you can go, what's like your safe zone. For me, I'm like, okay, if I go outside, I'm not going to die. Or if I go outside, I'm not going to freak out in front of a bunch of people or have the potential of someone seeing me. So for me, going outside is like, if I make it outside, I know I'm going to be okay. And that just immediately sets my mind at ease and makes everything like so, so much better. Besides having like a place to go, doing some sort of exercise or something that will actually make your heart rate increase, like running or a heavy workout. If you do something while you're having an anxiety attack that would make your heart beat that fast besides having an anxiety attack, do you get what I'm saying? It will help your heart to slow down because you'll be, running, jogging or whatever, and your heart will like start to like actually be supposed to beating as fast as it would be if you were having an anxiety attack. And then, when you stop running and you're cooling off, then your heart starts to slow down with that. And I've actually found that when I, do like a quick sprint, just like up and down my block, just really fast, my heart will already be beating that fast, so it's not going to go any faster. And then, when I cool down, I actually have found that it actually slows down my heartbeat. So that was really helpful for me. One more tip for anxiety and panic attacks and all of that is just remembering to breathe. Just remember that, I've said this before, everything's going to be okay. You're not going to die. No one has ever died from a panic attack. I don't think anyone's died. I mean, from the research I've done, nobody has died. And you just have to tell yourself that, because in that moment, it just seems like the world is ending and everything is crashing down. And you just have to pull yourself out of that thought process and say, I'm not about to die. You can't die from anxiety attacks. All I need to do is breathe, slow down your breathing, grab a brown paper bag, and breathe in and out of it, pet a stuffed animal, drink some water, call up a friend, talk to your mom, talk to your sister, your brother, your best friend, your pet, talk to whoever and let out your feelings. And that person will, respond back to you in ways that you couldn't, being in that mental state, do for yourself. They can, tell you, hey, everything's okay. It's really not as big as of a deal as you're making it. If you get a D on a paper and you start to have an anxiety attack, because all sorts of things can set them off. Talk to your mom or talk to your sister and say, oh my gosh, like I'm having an anxiety attack because I got a D in my grades and I'm gonna fail, and just let them sit you down and be like, it's one paper, and in the long run, what is one paper going to make a difference? It's not. It's not going to affect your high school career or your college degree. Since when has anyone ever asked you, when you're going for a job interview after college, what your GPA was from the college? They just want to see that you have a degree. So stuff like that, while it's really important in the moment, it's not so important in the long run. And especially after my brother passed away this last year, he was my only sibling. We were so, so, so close. I've just realized like the little things really, really don't matter. And like I said, things can seem so vital and important and horrible and bad. And, they might be in that moment, but in the long run, in the whole of life, your failing grade on a paper is not going to matter. All the things I've had anxiety attacks about or over, or things I've thought of while I've been having them, I think about them when I have a clear mind and I'm not having an anxiety attack, and I realize, like, that really wasn't that big of a deal. That's not life-changing. It's not going to affect the outcome of my future. So you just gotta look at it like that. Anyways, I hope y'all really enjoyed this video. I know it was kind of a darker subject, not really super happy and exciting, but anxiety is a very real thing, and probably the most pain, or one of the times I've been in the most pain in my whole life, was during an anxiety attack. So it's really not just all mental. It can be very physical as well. And, people that don't have them, they really don't know. They really can't relate. They can hear about them, but they don't know the feeling themselves. So it's always good to talk to a friend that has them also. Just someone that can relate to you, whether it be a counselor or a friend, a parent, whatever. Just someone that can relate to you and let you know that you're not alone, because that is also a big thing. Just if I had known during that horrible first anxiety attack that it was just a panic attack, and people have these all the time, and there's medicine for them, and there's treatments, and there's steps you can take to make them not so bad. If I had known that, I feel like it would have been so much less of a big deal. At the end of the day, everything happens for a reason, and I could have had that panic attack just so I could sit here and tell y'all, how to avoid panic attacks, or when you have them, how to make them not as bad. That could have been my entire purpose just for having my own. So you got to look at stuff like that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching my video. I hope y'all, liked it. I hope it was helpful. If you also have anxiety, please feel free to comment with your own remedies or ideas for how you slow down your own panic attacks or keep from having them, whatever tips, tricks, homemade remedies, whatever you have, let me know. I would love to hear. If you don't already, please follow me on Instagram. My username is @HayleyDollX, HayleyDollX. And if you have any ideas for future videos, also please comment below. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I love y'all so much, and I hope y'all feel better and have a wonderful day. Bye.